He turns hockey rumors into reality. Dave Pagnotta.
How you doing, Dave?
Excellent, boys. Excellent. How are we?
Not bad. We're kind of been waiting till 11 o'clock to talk to you because Gallo's been talking about all these rumors. You've been talking about Patik Laine, and we want to get into it.
Well, I mean, nothing going on there yet, but the conversation will be had in the not-too-distant future, is my understanding.
So the Canadians like what they saw out of Patik Laine?
I would think so. Yes. I think they would like to see more from a consistent perspective. But, it's starting the conversation fairly early, getting a good scope of where both sides are at. He certainly has connected well with the market. He's bought in from that side of things. I think there is certainly a pathway to keeping this relationship going beyond next season. But that's what they're going to discuss. They haven't had that conversation yet, thoroughly anyway. But like I said, that's going to escalate at some point after the draft, maybe even after July 1. All that kind of gets out of the way first before they dive into it. But there's certainly, from everything I can gather, interest on both sides to keep it going.
Because as you can imagine, Patik Laine, among fans here in Montreal, not exactly unanimous.
Right. And I think that goes towards the consistency conversation. He did well. He obviously excelled on the power play. But how do we take that to the next level? How does that elevate? How does that production get spread out over a full season, over 5-on-5 in addition to special teams? Can he be more than a power play specialist, for lack of a better term? And I think he can get there. I think the Canadians believe he can get there. I think with some of the changes they'd like to make and some of the additions they'd like to make would complement not just him, but others on the team. But I think that's all going to be part of the conversation to see where things are at from that side and what changes are on the horizon, what additions are going to be made, and so on. And how is it going to make Patik Laine a better, consistent player?
All right, so on the hockey front, I get all that. But if this is, Patik Laine coming to the Canadians saying, hey, I'd like to stay, and for someone who hasn't been happy in his life in the world of hockey, is this a good indication that he was embraced and he was very content and happy with his situation in Montreal?
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret that this is an environment that he has embraced and that he's comfortable with. The pressure that's here, at least in year one, hasn't weighed him down, hasn't been too much. I think, again, circumstantially, everybody understands where things are at, the up and down, the injuries, the whatever, all of it. But the stuff that he's dealt with in the past, the organization has done a very good job in making sure that is well looked after. And I think between that and the passionate fan base that is Montreal, I think he's taken it all in. I think he really enjoys it. And again, we'll see where the conversation goes once they have it. But it's not just him. I think the Canadians want to extend this as well. It's just, you got to get to that, to that discussion, so that everybody's cards are pretty much on the table. But I don't have a doubt that he has fully committed to the organization and the market.
I'm guessing at this point impossible for you to even throw out what the contract might look like.
No, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if his side or the team side is thinking short term, long term. I don't know where the dollars are at. Again, very, very premature on that front. But I'm sure. My gut says it's going to be after July 1 because, again, the Canadians have a lot of work that they'd like to get done over these next 2 weeks. So figure that out, and then, then tackle this. But, I would imagine, based on year one, again, this is just me completely just guesstimating, that I would think, 5-year range, less than the current AAV. But again, they haven't had that discussion yet, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so I guess the less is the one big question is and like you said, you don't know, but we were just discussing, we were opening up to our text messages and on X, and some people are like yay, some people are like nay, but if you get the right price, how would you not want someone that's going to consistently score 30 no matter how they go in?
Well, and that's exactly it. What type of player do you see Patik Laine being? Is he a consistent 30-goal, 70-point guy? Or is he more? Is he less? Like, again, however you evaluate it, but for argument's sake, let's say he's 30 to 35 in that 70 to 75-point range on a consistent basis with a team that's on the up, and that additions are going to be made to help enhance that. For that caliber player, you're probably looking at where he's at right now on the AAV with the cap going up. You may argue, or his side may argue, a little bit more, but it'll come down to term. And at the end of the day, that's going to be a big part of it. Can you spread out the dollars? And while the overall number will be higher, will the AAV drop a tiny bit in terms of what that number is? If it's $9 million over a shorter term, can we spread that out and drop it a little bit? But again, 30 goals, 70 points consistently, if that's how you see him, then he's likely around the price tag he's at now, if not a tiny bit more.
Chatting with Dave Pagnotta, fourthperiod.com here on Hockey Heaven at 11. It's Campbell versus Gallo with you. There's been so much talk about the need for the Canadians to acquire a center, and I know it's going to be debated whether this player is a center or not. But Dave, any idea how close the Canadians were to potentially landing Trevor Zegras a year ago, and what his availability might be this summer with the Anaheim Ducks looking to make moves?
I don't think it ever got close. I think it was certainly a topic of discussion and a subject that was broached a number of times, because I think it goes back beyond last season too. But I don't think it got anywhere near the finish line. Anaheim has kept the value or kept their perception of his value high, despite injuries and despite a lack of production offensively from him. I don't know definitively if that conversation has picked up again recently, but I do think the Ducks would be open to it. It's just, is a team, does another team, value, Trevor Zegras based on potential or based on what he's doing now? If you're basing it on what he's doing now, they're probably not going to trade him, because it value-wise, it's not there where the Ducks view him. But if you're going to pay for potential, then I think that's a conversation the Ducks are willing to entertain. But again, you're basing it off of his potential, not what his production has been these last two seasons.
We are Monday. The draft goes Friday. Between now and, let's say, 11 p.m. on Friday night, which team would you be paying closest attention to?
There's a few. I would look at. I'm very curious about Utah. Look, we just talked about the Ducks, so certainly I think Anaheim, they're willing to spend a lot, and they're willing to spend in terms of high prices, contract-wise. Utah, same boat. Columbus, same boat. These are teams with a lot of cap space and a lot of assets to play with. So I'm certainly looking in those directions. I know there's a lot of talk about the Islanders moving up, or getting another pick and trying to be in that 3 to 7 range overall in addition to the first. I think we'll know as it comes what the Islanders are going to do. I think they've got options that they're willing to explore in terms of, look, it's no secret James Higgins is the guy that they're looking at. Can they get him in a different, at a different position, because they're going to go with Schaefer number 1. But is there an opportunity if he drops a little bit to pursue it? I think they've been exploring those options. So from that side of things and all the speculation around them, they're not going to make a move today unless they know definitively they're going to get him. So Higgins, that is. So they're going to wait draft day as the clock ticks, as the clubs go up, to determine what route they're going to take. But in terms of overall activity, Utah, Anaheim, Columbus, for me, those are the ones that I'm keeping close tabs on.
All right, this is an odd question, but you're used to that from me. Could tomorrow Carey Price get inducted into the Hall of Fame and be traded?
Theoretically, yes. It's based on the last time the athletes played. Was Shea Weber part of that? Didn't that happen?
I'm just saying it might happen on the same day. And I guess the real question, are there teams inquiring about LTIR space in a player like Carey Price?
I haven't gotten that indication yet.
Okay.
Just completely. I think the cap space that everyone has been given, 7.5 this year, it'll go up another 8.5 next year, and then 9.5, or at least 8.5 next year. There's a possibility that increases. But no, I haven't been given any indication yet. It's possible, certainly, but I haven't heard anything along those lines to this point.
So we're looking at Utah, we're looking at the Canadiens, and then we're also looking at the draft. Is this one of the drafts where the draft is almost going to become secondary to all the trade rumors that will be out there leading into Friday?
I mean, we almost have a conversation like this every year.
I know.
So I hope so. The reason I'm a little bit more hopeful this year is because, look, next year's draft is deep in terms of top-tier talent, or at least, from a potential perspective. This year's draft, you've got, obviously, Schaefer, clear-cut number 1. Then you've got 2 through probably 7, maybe 8, that are going to be legitimate, top 6 potential athletes. And then you've got a lot of quality depth pieces. So there's a lot more flexibility for teams to be creative. And, I should also add, the free agent pool is not deep. So putting all those things together, it creates a recipe for additional activity, additional movement, which brings me hope, because it's a totally different draft, and I'll be on whatever the equivalent of the floor will be. So I'd like to stay busy on Friday. But, obviously it's up to these guys. They got to decide whether or not they, the managers are going to be, pulling the trigger on things. I think because of all that, I think we'll see more. Let's put it this way. There should be more activity on draft day than we've seen the last few seasons on day 1. To what extent, I could not predict.
How about the New York Islanders, who have a new GM?
Yeah, they're looking. They're looking. Like I said, I mean, in addition to that secondary, top 5, top 6 pick, Pajot's name is out there. They're looking.
Romanov.
They're asking, they're talking to teams about him because teams have asked. Dobson. I've heard Anders Lee's name pop up a little bit as well. Their captain. I think there's a willingness to be because look, they want to be competitive. They want to get back into this. This isn't going to be a rebuild. This isn't going to be a quick fix either. But Matthew Darche is coming in, or has come in, to kind of veer this team in the right direction again. And they're going to continue to listen. And I think they're going to be a little bit aggressive in the free agent pool, but again, not being overly deep, their options are going to be somewhat limited. I think they are going to be one of the teams that goes after Brock Besser as a free agent. I think Nick Ehlers as well. But I know I'm almost positive that Besser's on their radar. So they're going to look to make some additions. They want to add offense. They want to be a little bit creative. No, they're not going to give Noah Dobson away or Romanov either. But if there are hockey trades to be made where you're looking at talent for talent, then yeah. What I'm curious about with respect to Dobson is, let's say Utah, for example, because I know they've poked around here. What would they be willing to give in addition to the 4th overall pick for Noah Dobson? And would that move the needle? I'm curious as to where that goes, if it goes anywhere. But that's one of the things I'm looking at from both Utah's activity perspective and from the Islanders who are exploring a variety of options.
Oh, this is a fun time of year, Dave, and I can't wait to see what happens between now and Friday. And then, of course, after that, July 1st as well, next Tuesday, and we'll recap everything with you on Monday.
Can't wait, boys. Should be fun.
Thanks, Dave.